Hi.
Hey.
This is quite the moment we're in right now.
Yeah, we knew that our class was going to be, yeah, we're in the middle of dreaming in a dying world, and we knew that this was going to happen in the middle of that. And here we are, and it's the day after the voting, and votes are still being counted, and we're in the in between, the bardo, the waiting to
Yeah,
see.
I'm feeling anxious.
Mhm.
I'm feeling anxious and just it's not even so much like surprise. I feel like I was telling my family this morning that I've been doing this kind of work um around race and gender and harm now for like around 6 years. I want to say it's been around 6 years. And then, I just came back from North Carolina, and you're still in North Carolina. But I was driving through Tennessee. We stopped off and we were in Tennessee for 3 or 4 days, and then we were in Kentucky. And just everywhere were Trump signs and McConnell signs and giant ones, not like tiny small ones in people's yards, but just like giant ones. And I was going through, we were driving, and it was just kind of like this sickening feeling in the pit of my stomach. And then I got to this place in Tennessee that I was supposed to stay at, and there was a Trump sign in the Airbnb, the yard, the place that I was staying. And I had this really hard time grappling with that. Um, and I never met the person that owned it. You know, it's not how Airbnb works. It was like a coded door. But so in some sense, like, I'm not surprised. Like, I in my work, I was telling my family, like, in the work that I've been doing the last 5, 6 years, how intense white supremacy culture is in this society. That it's even surprised me. It even surprises me that some of the people that I um family and friends and people that I care about even have surprised me, and how embedded this is inside the culture. And so when I'm looking at this outcome, which isn't even an outcome yet, it's not, hasn't been decided yet, but the fact that it's so close, the fact that I'm looking at the map and I see all these states that are in red, marked off in red, and I've driven through some of them recently, like, it just kind of shows you that, or makes me feel like that culture that I've spent the last 6 years working with that directly, but that culture, how widespread that really is, that 50% of where we live in this country is with that mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I am still in North Carolina, and I was telling you before, everyone here waves, like literally everyone. You're driving in your car, and it's like, hey, and that just kind of my feeling of dissonance, I guess, of like, oh, this is nice that everyone waves, but then also there are Trump signs everywhere, and then also, it makes it so that I'm like, you're like very kind, you're being very kind, it's this kind of nicety, this propriety to wave, but what do you really think about me, and what are you really thinking about, like what's underneath it all, basically. And yeah, it makes me really understand that, um, well, I was just having this thought the other day that we really we take care of what magnify where we feel visible, where we feel seen. That's what we're going to fight for. That's what we're going to struggle for. That's what we're going to protect. And you know, if wherever you are, if you're in a community and that's all you know, and those are the only people that you're around, then wow, is a loud bluebird. um, then that's, you know, that's what you're going to struggle for and fight for and protect. And so if you're only surrounded by, you know, you're only surrounded by white folks, you know, who um, have this one particular mentality, and that's all you know, and that's your family and your friends, and you feel seen and visible by that community, then that's what you're going to protect, and that's what you're going to fight for. And so, yeah, I mean, and it makes so much sense. Actually, that's what makes sense to me, you know, because I'm like, I want to be free. Like, I want these people that I care about to be free. I want to be free. I want Black people to be free. That's my community, you know. I feel seen, I feel visible, I feel magnified, and therefore I feel responsible and protective. And so, I mean, it feels very clear to me, you know, that there has been a surface level kind of way of interacting with each other that has made it so that we can all be like in this country together. But at the core of it, at the root of it all, we we are not actually, we only feel protected and seen and visible by a very select amount of people, no matter what side you're on, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you say that because I just remember thinking even in, I don't know, it was Tennessee or Kentucky, it was one of those, but just being like in a store and just everybody's just like, oh yeah, thank you, have a nice day, giving you the smile. We've got a Trump sign in their yard, and I'm going, who are you though, really? And what do you really think about me? And I mean, probably there might not even be a conscious thought about me in some sense,
Right.
but it's like, I don't know who you are. I don't know who that clerk is at the store that I go and see every day, or whatever, or that I come in contact with. I don't know if we know who each other really is. And like this time period, an election and COVID and all of it, feels a little bit like we're having to come to terms with that reality of like, who who are our neighbors and who are our friends and who are our family members. We don't even know each other's as family members. I mean, I've been witnessing people, having these fights in their families, and it's as far as like even just separating from each other.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all because it's like, did you not know the person before this? Right?
Yeah.
Because we don't have those conversations.
Right.
We would just rather sit there and make pleasant talk, and it's so that it's pleasant, right? It's not real. No
Mm-hmm.
one's just wanted to get real. Now
Yeah.
we're
And
here.
just this kind of reflection off of that, you know, doing work around harm and connectivity, and um, it really feels like after years of doing that work in community and also doing that work in my family and trying to find different, and because it's different in family, it's like people it's like, or, you know, people in my family are like, oh, that's what you do out there, but you don't need to come in here and like try to fix things, no thank you. But like, you know, but I'm still gonna kind of like be in there and, you know, ask questions and, you know, try to connect. And across the board, it's like, dang, this is really hard to connect. Even with my closest family, it's really, really, really hard. And the one thing that pops up around what makes it hard is that everyone has to work and everyone has to survive. And people's basic needs are not met. And so folks are stressed, folks are driving Uber, folks are, you know, out there 67 years old. I'm thinking about my mom and my dad working every day in the middle of a pandemic because they have bills to pay. And there's no space, emotional capacity for connecting deeper with your daughter, connecting deeper with your, brother or your son, because, trying to make these ends meet. So it's like you were talking, um, and you were mentioning that, like, as much as we try, there's still so many things that keep us from systemic things that keep us from the actual ability to connect with each other. And that really does feel like, imagining cultures of care, where we are now, into a culture of care. What if our whole world turned into a culture of care? And it's like there's this huge obstacle that, like, where's the space to find, like, the capacity to understand what care is for yourself, let alone another person in this world right now. So
Well, I mean, elections can't stop people from caring about each other. That's one thing, but that can still happen. But you're right in terms of like the time and energy that takes, because exactly what you said. We're busy having to drive Uber or, work to feed ourselves, or working 16 hours, or my sister working 16 hours a day or whatever during COVID, trying to save people's jobs in a corporate setting, because realistically people need those jobs to even feed their families, and it's like, but then we're all taxed by that system. We're all kept in that, right? We're working 50 hours a week or whatever. We don't have time to create cultures of care. We're so busy having to just make sure, like, we're taken care of and our, like, immediate families are taken care of in a financial way, so there's the time factor. And then the other thing that keeps coming up for me is the tools. That even if we had time, even if we all of a sudden we had time to, really get to know our families and friends, we don't have tools. Like, most of us don't have tools on even how to communicate and have dialogue and deep listening. And, like, we're not trained. Most of us aren't trained in that. And even if we are, we forget. And it's like, we don't, even when those conversations do happen, which they're happening more now because of all that's going on, I see that's actually happening. But then, like, you're sitting there with somebody who's got you learn that your family member has a completely different view about something, and it's so difficult to even have the conversation, even if you want to, because there's just, we don't know how to work with ourselves and the emotions that are coming up inside of us, or the creating a container where all the voices can be heard, so it's like, there's that whole other level too.
yeah, there's a plane going by, but I'm just gonna talk anyway.
It's not too bad. It's not, the
Okay.
bird was much louder.
The bird was much worse. Good. Yeah, so I mean, I just start to think about, all of this, and just the fact that, we're going to keep working on this, and cultures of care, and how to address harm and accountability, and how to, gain the tools for emotional, intelligence and inquiry and capacity and communication. We're going to keep working on it. Um, and because that's the only thing that can do. I mean, it just feels like, you know, it feels like continuing to return to the vision and not losing the vision, that it's possible for for my family, I'm speaking for my family, to have what they need and to be able to have time and space to develop who they are, to become who they are, to share that with their kids, to connect and live a free life in the way that they want to live, fully fed and fully clothed and fully housed and fully cared for in all of the different ways. Like that's the vision. And the capacity to keep going and fighting, to me, I understand comes in waves, you know, like some days you'll have capacity and other days you'll just need to curl up in a ball and cry. And I don't think that's not having capacity. I think that's, you know, riding the wave of what it means to be in a strong and powerful commitment to humanity and interconnectedness in the earth. It means that you have to take a day or two or maybe a week or more to cry about it and to be in mourning about it. That's a part of it, of shifting into a culture that acknowledges us as human beings too. So yeah, I think that burnout is very real, but being engaged looks like so many different things. Yeah.
Yeah, being engaged definitely looks like lots of different things. The one thing we don't have, I mean, we should cry and we should mourn, and I will. What I'll be mourning is, I don't know the outcome of the election, but I'll just be mourning the fact that there's this much of a division and a split, and just the space that we're in right now. I feel like I'm mourning all the time lately. I mean, 2020 is a year of mourning, and I'll be in that. But I think the important thing is to realize that, at least for me, I'm mourning because of how much I care, how much I deeply care about humanity and about this world and this earth. And this earth can't sustain what we're doing. And I'm mourning that. I'm mourning with her. But at the same time, it's also important not to get stuck there. Like I'm also feeling a lot of like, sometimes, I don't know, I get into this space sometimes where like I feel stuck or something, you know, like I'm mourning, but I'm also like, there's nothing I can do, like a giving up space. And that's when, and then I isolate. And now we're in isolation. We are like literally in isolation, not even able to be around each other. And that makes me feel even more stuck in some ways. And so I'm noticing that, and I'm making a point to, like, I talk to you and I talk to, you know, other people, and I'm trying to stay in connection with other people and in community somehow, because like you've said over and over again, we can't do this alone. We have to keep on being with each other. We have to keep on um like that's a source, you know, a source for me to keep going, because I know me particularly, I fall into, like, I'll drown in front of the TV. That's my source of comfort. And eat a lot of chocolate, and I'll just drown there for a long time, you know. And what will get me out is other people. Is being this in this connection with other people. Without that, I might stay in that forever. Not quite literally, but you know,
Mm-hmm.
but in the drowning place.
Yeah. Um, what just started coming up for me too is, uh, you know, I am not surprised by seeing all of the red, like, and so now I also feel, you know, like there's like anger coming up in me too, because it's like, how many more times do we have to go through this voting thing for people to have to look at the states on the TV screen and be like, oh shit, look how many states are red, you know? Like how many times does it have to happen? And why the reality of it is that we have, as Black people, as marginalized folks, been saying this since the beginning of this country. Like, we've been saying that it's, there's a division. This is how we're treated every day. It's not, you know, it's not cool. There are so many people and so many communities that are under-resourced, made invisible, devalued, thrown under the bus, like schools being shut down. It's being pointed out every single day, you know. And I know that, you know, in cities it's more talked about, and the media has a lot of control over how, you know, people are being portrayed and all of that. But I mean, as far as making choices around, you know, who we're going to, you know, who's been in the struggle and for so long and been awake to it and been like, yeah, okay, great, glad you're finally feeling sad about it, because there's a president who's like making it very clear and visible, and we've been, you know, yelling and screaming about it and crying about it and dying about it for years. So it's like all of that stuff comes up too, and like we have to go through the cycle of everybody is where they are with it, and you know, just another little thing of like making space in your awareness and your understanding to like listen to the people around us, and what's been the cry for help, basically.
You know,
Magnified by this moment.
you know, though, what I have witnessed is that until it affects people directly, it doesn't seem to matter to people. Like I have just literally seen that. Like until like, oh, it affected my pocketbook, or it affected somebody in my direct family, or it affected my best friend, or, you know, somebody who's very close to me or in my circle. It's like, and even then, I've seen people go, I'm not going to look at that thing, you know, because it's not, I'm good over here in my safe little four walls house. And so I'm not going to look out there. I'm not going to care what's going on out there. I'm just going to, it doesn't affect me. And even if you happen to catch a glimpse of it in the news or whatever, we're still like, the culture is so about me and what I need. And it's not about, you have to have a big enough heart to actually care about other people. And so then there's these moments like the election where all of a sudden now this guy comes into office and people are like, whoa, this might actually impact me. Right. And then when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, right, and like all of a sudden women's rights could get overturned, that might affect me. Right. And then it's like, it's this like, oh, whoa. You know, it has to like be on that level. It doesn't feel like when other people or other communities are impacted that most of us care. We will
And
turn
that's the
the mind.
culture we're trying to change. Yeah. Is this culture of like, because I don't know you, I don't care about you.
That's
like
what I keep seeing.
Yeah.
I keep seeing it. I see it in my family. I see it in my friends. I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere. And it's not all of us. Some of us really, really care about other people. But that's not been the norm. Like, that's not been what I've witnessed to be the norm. But that has to change. And I know that we as humans have the capacity for that. And in fact, that's what's going to make us happy in the end. Like, we're all after this thing called happiness. And people think that the way to get it is somehow by locking themselves up in their four walls And so that as long as they don't have to encounter harm, and as they have, food and shelter and all their basics met, and they can go take their 3 vacations a year or whatever it is, that like, then that'll be enough. And that's it. That's going to make me happy. And then if I make more money, it'll make me happier. And if I get more things, it'll make me happier. If I can take more trips, it'll make me happier. And all of that. Like, it's always about acquiring. And that's the really interesting part, is that so many people haven't figured out that that's not actually the thing that's going to offer the kind of calm that we're all seeking in here. Like, we're all seeking something, this contentment or whatever it is. I don't even know if I'd call it happiness, but there's something we're seeking, all of us, and we're not going to get it the way we're going. It's going to be about caring about other people. That's it. That's like that's the key to the doorway of something larger, to shift what's in here. Like, that's what it is. And I don't know how we're going to show that to people. Mm-hmm. But that's what everybody is looking for.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Well, I'm glad I have you.
I'm glad I have you.
Well, I guess we'll see. We'll see what the outcome of this is.
Yeah.
But it won't change the work any.
No, the work is the same. Whoever wins the presidency, there's still so much work to be done, and it all is like around connection and caring for yourself, and then caring for the people around you.
It's that simple.
And caring for the people you don't even know. That's what the earth does.
Yeah. Person that's ringing you up in the grocery store line. Love you.
Love you. Happy Wednesday.